So I saw this one and it made me think I wanted to have a little look at this because PewDiePie's been very much an enigma, as it were. Like the dude's retired, he's kind of only making videos about being a dad these days and occasionally, you know, videos about like what it's like living in Japan, and good for him. But there was a video that I saw of him picking up artwork for the first time, and as an artist myself, as somebody who has made artwork my living for pretty much my entire life, and with Tia here also being an artist, I'm actually legitimately interested in seeing like this guy's progression. I remember seeing his original video and I think it was a bit of a banger, right? Like it got so much attention because it went from like PewDiePie making videos of Let's Plays and shiz like that to making like slice of life videos. And I'll be honest, I think I like PewDiePie's content now more than anything that he used to make because it's just things that he likes. It's just him being organically himself. Like this stuff that he makes now is so much more just him, right?
Wait, did you know that we have a Discord and a Twitch? No? Well, now you do. So what are you waiting for? Why don't you click those little links over there and be part of the fun? Just like the rest of us cool kids, you know what I'm saying?
So let's see what he's got to say. Tia, do you have anything to say in regards to all this art shenanigans? Also, beautiful freeze frame.
Art good.
Yeah, art good. We like art.
What's the progress? Was it worth it? So this all started as a random idea. I wanted to make a
I remember watching
video,
PewDiePie when he was doing
art
Amnesia
because I
back
thought
in the
it was
day.
easy to track. Like I'll draw for 30
How you
days.
going, bros? My name's PewDiePie. Again, I say it. I love he's just being himself now. He's not like putting on a face. He's not pretending to be somebody he's not. Like watching PewDiePie's growth across the years, seeing him go through the different arcs of his content, going from like little puppy teenager to big celebrity, dealing with like alcoholism and the tribes and tribulations of being the one of the biggest YouTubers ever, to now being a dad. Like he's having his wholesome Chungus arc. That's what it is. He's having his wholesome Chungus
he grew
arc.
up.
It's real. Like that's the scary part. He's grown up, and that scares me. That really scares me. Because it means that we've also grown up.
Days, I can show the first day and then I can compare it to the last day. That'll be interesting to see. Did I make progress? People were so encouraging on the video and I really enjoyed picking up drawing, so I kept going.
Gee, I think that's a telling sign that people like when people are organic. So Jacksepticeye and PewDiePie, both, I don't like Jacksepticeye much per se, but I respect something that he stands for. And that's authenticity. And something that he said about how, you know, people like Mr. Beast made it more about the views and the clout and the gains rather than what you're making hits so close to home.
Oh, yeah. The brutal honesty of that whole clip is very on point.
It's so scary how PewDiePie went through the exact, like, process that Mr. Beast has gone through. But you've got, like, two different arcs. You know, you've got, like... It's kind of like that sentiment of like a branching story path. You had the evil way and the good way, where Mr. Beast was the evil path and PewDiePie was the good path. You know, this was all the experience they had, and then they chose to go whichever way. And PewDiePie's turned into this like immensely wholesome, really kind of heartwarming channel. And things like his progression with artwork, it goes to show that there is an audience out there for people who just want some like slice of life content, people who just want to enjoy normal stuff rather than what's going on, guys, you know, fucking ADHD riddled TikTok skibbity Ohio phantom tax bullshit.
Yep, we're back at 0 for Makari skibbity counter.
And to be honest, like, say what you will about what he's done in the past and what he's like as a person, I would take what PewDiePie says about content creation way more seriously than 90% of content creators out there. He knows his shit, and he's a very smart person. He's a very intelligent person.
And I did a 100-day one, and people enjoyed it even more. There was no way I was gonna stop. I had to do at least a year. And here we are. Being here, I have...
Also, isn't it kind of crazy as well? Isn't it kind of crazy that PewDiePie's retired at what? How old is he? 32, 33? I think he's my age. He's 35 years old. He's 3 years older than I am. And PewDiePie's at that stage in his life where he's retired. And even if all he needs to do to make a substantial amount of money is just post a single video. Like if he's like, oh, the banks are looking a bit low today, we're down below 10 million, puts out one video, gets 1 million views in less than a day. If you want to know what that is in ad revenue, considering this video is like, this video at this point after 18 hours has earned him 10 grand. Easy. Imagine earning 10 grand for just talking about what you love. Fucking unreal.
So many emotions. I am happy. All right, let's dig into it. Let's watch. Sorry, my nails. This is where it all started. 365
yes, I remember seeing the original stuff.
Day one.
And like that's the thing, you have to start somewhere as an artist. Like the beginning is always going to be hard because it's daunting because you don't have any direction, you don't know where you're going, and the learning process is a hard part because you need to figure out what direction you're going to go in. You need to figure out how you want to learn, what it is you want to end up with. And you know, if you want to end up with cliche anime, the biggest part about learning anime or learning drawing, this isn't even just anime, because like my art style is anime inspired. It is not anime centric. And I think I've done a pretty decent job of kind of giving myself a unique style that you can tell the reference to anime and that it's kind of got that theming to it. But very much my artwork is my own style. It's more of a Western sort of cartoony style. And I adore the fact that my learning process took little tidbits from other things and made it my own. And, you know, if you want to learn anime, then you have to learn differently to somebody who's going to be learning something else. And I think what this video is going to end up showing is exactly that thing. Like, PewDiePie wanted to learn how to do anime, and he started off with very functional anime guides with, like, those books you get from your library. But eventually, everyone has to learn some fundamentals. Everybody has to learn things like anatomy. Everyone has to learn life drawing. Everyone has to learn creative adaptation. Everyone has to learn pipelines, processes. There are universal elements to all things when it comes to learning that you learn regardless. And then you make that into what you want. So if you want to learn something more specifically anime, then you start taking... You take your primary facets of knowledge from anatomy, style, whatever, and then you bring in the elements of an anime as your theming, if you will.
Portrait. What's up, Björn? Yes. Yes. Man, this is nice to watch.
This looks like my high school workbook. Like the amount of pages of my workbooks that used to have like pages and pages of doodles like this was insane. Like always in the margin, like the margins. I used to get told off so much because I always used to dedicate the back 3, 4, or 5 pages of all of my workbooks to just doodling. It got so bad to the point where my teachers gave me a specific doodle book so that I would stop doodling in the back of my workbooks.
It's nice to watch. Like, okay, some are not terrible. This gives me confidence. Here's when I started to look up tutorials and stuff online. So you think it'd be better?
So here's the thing. Guides, tutorials, and following step-by-step guides is great. And I still do that to this day. It's amazing to pick up a talent because it gives you the foundations. But the way you excel that beyond the foundation is by making your own. I take it very seriously when I say learning the right way is more important than just raw practice. Because you can practice and practice and practice and learn and learn and learn. But unless you're learning in the right way, it's never going to make an impactful difference. With things like artwork, learning the base fundamentals gives you a, like, you know, let's look at this like this, right? Let's say, for example, you have a building, right? Learning from a book, like how to draw manga or whatever, that gives you the structure. That gives you the outline of what it looks like to draw that. But then learning things like anatomy helps you give definition to that. It helps start filling in those little blank spaces. You suddenly have windows. You know, it suddenly starts looking a bit more like a building. Then you start learning through things like style and You start learning intricate, like the more intricate parts. You start adapting and innovating your own preface. Then you start getting what's around the building. You start realizing, oh yeah, shoot, there's usually a thing on top of there. There's usually like a lip, and you know, you got not all the windows are going to be in the same place. Maybe there's an entire floor that's like it's never bad to work from other people's references because it helps you start. It gives you a grounded foundation. And it's always good to go back to that so that your foundations are strong. But the best advice that I can ever give for somebody who wants to learn is get your foundation, go back to your foundation every once in a while, but then go and make sure you're taking a vested focus on specific things. Like, don't just try and think you can draw a full body right off the bat. The first, 100 pages of a sketchbook should be filled with really loose doodles of eyes and head and general placement and general ideas, and you'll go from the first like PewDiePie's doing here, from the first page to the end. You'll then see that even from that you've started sort of getting an idea of what you want and improving in that, and then you build up from that. You build up from those foundations. Learning the correct way is more important than just learning.
But they all kind of look like they have some sort of allergy. Like they ate a lobster and they have a seafood allergy. The chin is very big. Would have made it something more like, I wonder if I can fix this. I feel bad for future past self. Damn, I drew so hard I can't erase.
Why are you changing these? These are to remind you about how well you did.
So much better. I realize, and maybe other people have said this too, but
so I know what this is. I know what this is. So look at these two pictures right here. He's using real life anatomy, but with the concept of anime. And on this right one, you see it. He has the eyes of anime, but he has the jaw and facial structure of what he knows a human looks like. So this is how the learning process works. You need that clear defined idea. And by this point, you know, he knows how anime works. He knows that anime faces are a bit more, you know, a little bit not quite so anatomically correct, shall we say. And, you know, there's always that precedent of style and stylistic choice and everything. But I find that quite funny because I can see what he was doing. You know, he was very much basing his anatomy off of what he saw real humans looking like.
It's more about training your brain to see rather than actually technical with your hand. I think that's a misconception I had. But after 30 days, this is the progress of my first video. I was so happy with it, and I think,
damn, even after such a short space of time, he grasped the fundamentals really well.
So this is my progress after 82 days.
Jesus, 84. That's such an improvement.
And I really think here's where
that is such an improvement. I mean, there's still some. I can see some things here that he could have improved on. Like there's the top part of the face is facing a bit differently to the bottom half. Like you would see a bit more of the flesh on this side here, for example. I think maybe it's either this eye or this side that's placed a bit too high or a bit too low. I think it's this eye. But wow, that's crazy. This is making me want to draw with pens again.
In terms of if you wanted to just improve as much as possible in the shortest time.
That's so impressive,
colors on papers is so satisfying to look at.
One of the biggest pitfalls I know that a lot of people deal with is feeling like they're not making progress. And this is why it's so important to keep track of everything that you draw, even if it's a random little doodle. Even if it's just a scrappy little doodle you did in the back of your workbook, keep it. Because you don't know how much progress you've made until you look back in hindsight. And I was gonna make a point. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So like when you want to improve, especially with artwork, you're not going to see progress day by day, but over the course of weeks and months, you know? Because what's happening is when you're improving, it's like this, right? So if this is your progress bar, you're not improving in big chunks like this. You're improving in smaller little segments that on a day-by-day basis are much harder to notice because they're so small of improvements. But when you look back at this segment, when you're at this segment, you'll suddenly realize how much of a change there's been. It's just that because if you're looking at it day by day, you'll never notice that difference because the changes are so small. So that's why retrospective is so important. You have to... It's like, the way I used to do it when I was younger was I would sort of like segment my work. I would have a folder for January, a folder for February, and I would compare my work from the start of a week to the end of a week, from the start of a month to the end of the month. And then likewise, I'd compare the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And I do this live on stream every now and again. I'll pull up a bit of artwork that I drew from like 10 years ago, like we did earlier, and I'm like, oh my God, I've improved so much. It's all about retrospect. And that's something that helps keep you motivated. It's the cause of burnout, and it's also the way you can prevent burnout. Making sure you draw things you enjoy as well. Not just drawing just for the sake of it, but drawing things that you're passionate about. Yeah, it's like a muscle, exactly. You have to keep working at it.
That it kind of forgives a lot of the anatomy errors, the poor line work.
I kind of like that line work, actually. It's a very stylized line work.
Like, it's just nice to look at regardless. But yeah, this is the last thing I drew for my 100-day video. And yeah, it's cute. I did it. I drew something. So let's check the progress from there.
Okay, now we get to... Dude, now we're going to see how much he's going to make me look like a novice. Like, the fact that he's gotten this good in like a year and a bit is crazy.
First of all, don't do what I did. I just kept drawing.
This is what daily practice looks like. Every single day. You know that, oh wow, I'm having a brain fart. Anime with the bald guy, One Punch Man. It's that One Punch meme. You know, do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every single day.
Things. Anime.
And the word that I will give you. Consistency. Be consistent. And even when you don't feel like... The thing that will help you, make it a habit to draw every day. Even if you don't feel like it, just doodle something. Just a random doodle. Draw every single fucking day. Even to this day, I still do that. Even on a day that I don't feel like I want to draw, I will still doodle something. Like these kind of things here are these kind of like doodles I talked about. Some days I will just sketch something. Like on the day that I drew these, I didn't want to draw and it fucking shows. But in hindsight, I look back at them and I liked the ideas of what I doodled. But making sure you doodle something every day keeps you warm, keeps you fresh, and it makes sure you're not like frustrating on it. It's very easy to become stagnant. And when you lose momentum, it's going to be very hard for you to pick that up again.
Girl, anime girl, too much anime. Just bad, just bad.
I mean, again, by his current standards, not great. But you look back at that versus, you know, this stuff here, night and day difference. Retrospective.
I'm gonna get.
Who's watching Demon Slayer?
Yeah, just sketching random stuff I find online. Finally, I move on and I draw boys.
Wait. That's the guy from Blame. Fucking amazing anime, by the way. If you've never seen Blame, the anime movie they made for it was pretty decent. Read the manga. Read the fucking manga. This manga was one of the best things I've ever read.
I draw boys. This is the boys arc. I drew so much guys from anime because I thought...
So what he's talking about here is what I was mentioning earlier. Change things up. If you're burnt out, it's probably because you've been drawing the same thing too much. Try something different. Draw something you're inspired by. Find something else that isn't what you've been drawing the entire time. If you've been drawing nothing but anime girls for a year, start drawing guys. It'll be a challenge initially, but the challenge itself will motivate you. Maybe you've spent too long drawing full body poses. Start focusing on eyes. Get really good at eyes. Maybe you want to learn how to draw dynamic poses, you know? Change things up frequently. ADHD is an artist's best friend.
I drew so many mangas. You probably recognize these. I think this is Jujutsu Kaisen. I think
yeah,
this is a good
Jujutsu
time for me to
Kaisen!
address a couple things.
I definitely don't have the hyperfixation with Jujutsu Kaisen at all. Ha 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 ha.
From my last video, and one of them is just a huge thanks
draw
to
furries.
other YouTubers.
Yes,
that
I'm
reacted
recommending
to
you
my
draw
video.
furries.
I think that was so cool to see and actually get encouraged by professionals. I really appreciated that. Another thing was that people said I had an art background. That was like a rumor that went around, and I guess I take that as a compliment. But no,
I could see
not.
why people would
I
say
have not
that.
Studied art. That was the whole point of this
But
video.
I think it's more of a telling sign that this is more someone who, and this is like a really heartwarming thing because this is evidence that someone who doesn't have an art background can still make some great artwork. Like anybody can learn to do anything, given time, commitment, and discipline.
I was not being disingenuous. I have not drawn since I was a kid, but I loved doing Photoshop. Before YouTube, I loved Photoshopping images. And
you know what? When people say it's about talent, talent is a lie. Like, sure, some people can have a better understanding, but talent is a poor man's way and a poor man's excuse of making up for why you're not doing better. Everyone can do anything, artistically speaking, given practice at any point in their life. For some people, you know, your brain's wired differently. Some people do learn better. But that's just learning. None of it is just talent. Talent is an excuse and a sloppy way of excusing why you haven't tried, or giving validation for why someone's better than you. It's not a thing. So knuckle down, do your artwork.
creating artworks that way. So maybe in a sense that helped. But I think the biggest sort of thing that helped is that I'm actually older. Like I'm 35 now, and I think if I did this thing when I was younger, I would not have seen the same improvement. But I also think, you know, the improvement...
I would say, and this is something that I'm suffering with at the moment, PewDiePie has a luxury of free time. He's retired at 35. Not many people get to retire at 35. You know, most of us have a day-to-day job. Most people work 9 to 5, have something going on in their lives. But even with that, it's about finding time. Like, it's the same notion of having an hour to work out a day, an hour to draw a day. Make time for it. No matter how busy you are, there is always time to squeeze in. One of my best friends, Claude Everproud, he works 9 to 5, and he takes a doodle pad with him to his workplace. And he doodles whilst he's at work. And then he comes home and he draws in his spare time. But he's made time to draw. And seeing Claude's work from now back to when I first met him, I'm going to put him on blast for this because like Claude's art improvement over the years has been immense. Fucking Tia Singer, this silent protagonist next to me. These are two amazing artists who I've known for 2-3 years-ish. And both of them, you look at the stuff that I look at the stuff that they drew when I first met them. And by comparison to the stuff that they draw now, the difference is night and day. You see how they started, but how they draw now is such an improvement because they take time to draw.
I'm literally drawing right now.
I was wondering why you were quiet.
Yeah. I'm sorry, okay? Like, you've been grandstanding, and I haven't had anything to add, okay?
I mean, this was something that Claude drew 2 years ago. And then, okay, I'm a little bit stuck because everything Claude's drawn for me recently has been porn. But,
yeah,
oh, you know, here we go. This was a few months ago. Point is, improvement takes time. It really does.
Improvement I had, anyone can achieve. Like I wanted my video to be inspiring for other people to do the same thing. Like that's my goal. Like people say anyone can draw.
I wish I could draw
truly
backgrounds.
believe that. Oh, and by the way, I wrote a blog post. Yes, I write blog posts now. It's just more details about my favorite type of notebooks, my favorite kind of pens. If I were to do this challenge again, what would I do differently? How to remain consistent.
God. Guys, this is what it looks like to have spare time. Sorry, not just spare time, but money. This is what it looks like to have spare time and money. This is what it looks like when you have the luxury of retiring at 35 with good financial backing. My God.
Sort of stuff. If you wanted to do this challenge yourself, I recommend checking that out. I just didn't want to get too much detail in this video. But an insecurity of mine was brewing, which was I couldn't, like, if I wanted to draw anime style. Sorry, it's hard to see here. You start with a circle, you draw.
Like, I want to point out, by the way, PewDiePie has one of the wobbliest sketching methods I've ever seen. And yet it works. Like, sometimes what works for you isn't going to work for someone else. And you have to kind of work with the kind of process you have, I guess. Like, for me, my sketching method is a little bit more chicken scratch. It's a bit more rough. But that doesn't mean you can't make it work. If you don't think it's working, make it work. Adapt it.
Middle line, you draw where the eyes are going to be.
Yes, trust the process.
Figure out how.
Like, that sketching style actually kind of wilds me out. Because I see how he's sketching by comparison to how I sketch, and it's so different.
And then you swirl in some hair really quick. This method is so helpful because
I'm a believer in long lines instead of short hash lines.
Balance, like if I drew directly, same thing, and anything is like out of
It's my fastidious nature. I don't like it.
Just kind of looks weird. So to draw directly, it was so difficult. So I bought this pen. This pen is amazing. It's a brush pen, and if you squeeze it, ink comes out.
Oh, I had one of these.
And you can draw really slim lines.
I had one of these. I was so shit scared of using it
really
that
thick
I stopped
really
using
quickly.
it.
And I told myself,
And I coincidentally, I remembered these things existed like maybe a year ago. I was like, oh yeah, man, it's like having a Photoshop or a Clip Studio pen in real life.
forced myself to use this pen, even though it looks like shit. I was gonna really, like, I'm gonna use this pen. I need to learn how to draw without the whole circle thing again. At least that's what I wanted.
That's called muscle memory.
And it took some time.
But you see what he's doing. This is like this is such a good example of what I was talking about. It's about adapting and innovating and trying different things. You have to try what doesn't work to know what does. And even if something you draw that looks like shit, that's still been something learning, and that's something that helps stretch your mind. If you keep learning, like when I said earlier, learning smart is so important, this is what I mean. Because if you keep learning the same way all the time, every time, it eventually starts giving diminishing returns. So when you learn, you have to try and learn new things to keep your mind flexible and retentive. And that's what this
like
is
taking
for him.
100 steps back, but that's how you have to improve. You know, you have
what he said there. He might have felt like this sent him 100 steps back for this. But I guarantee you, when he stopped using this pen and went back to drawing with pencil, his lines looked infinitely better. Guaranteed.
to get out of your comfort zone. But I think eventually
And yeah, get out of your comfort
to
zone.
sort of get the hang of it, and you can get kind of really quickly satisfying result with the high contrast. I really enjoyed so I did some manga panels, and yeah, it feels like I'm looking at a manga. It's really cool.
I might get one of
Getting
those
more
pens actually.
comfortable. It's still so hard with proportions, man. Like anything is slightly off, it's gonna suck. So yeah, this felt like a little side quest, but I'm glad
What was
I
that
took
pen
it,
called again?
And yeah, it was really fun. But what I should
I
have
don't
been
think
doing
he just said he
is
got it.
draw other things as well.
There you go. You want to draw so you want to draw manga and anime. Well, I hope you enjoy drawing life drawing. I hope you enjoy drawing pots and plants. I hope you enjoy drawing dogs and cats. Because my God, you want to draw manga and anime? You ain't gonna be drawing manga and anime to begin with.
I find it amazing, like how I could all of a sudden, even though I never practiced drawing a cloud, I could draw a cloud better than I ever could. So that's cool. Okay, I'm done. But I think something finally sparked in me, where before I was like, okay, I just want to draw for the sake of drawing. I don't have any interest in anything. I started
God,
drawing
that's
manga
wild.
panels.
Look at that background. I mean, I know he's like using like, oh, big thing. Always use reference. Never just draw from your mind unless you can help it. I mean, maybe if you've got the muscle memory, sure. But like, always having a reference will make or break the difference. It's the difference between using the left side of your mind and the right side of your mind. Using both at the same time definitely works, but drawing from memory versus drawing from what you see, very different parts of your brain.
I started drawing perspective, and I wanted to understand these things. Drawing landscapes. This is Nihei.
God, his background work is amazing.
So finally, after I don't know, 300 days of drawing, I picked up an art book. I should have done this.
Yes. And this is the other big thing. Artwork and drawing and anything that is learned is equal parts practical and equal parts literal. It is as much as what you read as what you draw. It's like going to school. It's learning the right way. Doing the theoretical, like this is what they try and teach you in school, but you're too young to really appreciate it. Learning the theoretical helps you learn the practical. And that's what I was saying. You're going to learn anatomy, study, and all that kind of jazz. You really want to take it seriously. If you only ever draw without actively picking up a book and learning, you're only going to tap maybe, what, 40% of your potential? There's a whole universe out there that can be unlocked just by picking up a book. I mean, I'm not the best at this, but even I have, what, 7, 8 books on anatomy, manga, style. Some of them are even just like comic books that I really liked that I wanted to mimic the style of. Some of them are like more like documentarial studies that were done by people. They're dry as fuck to read, but there's good stuff in them.
Ages ago. So I picked up a couple art books, some more technical than others, but I really enjoyed this one, Taco, because I enjoyed the style of it. Obviously, everyone has different preferences. I think if you were to be a professional artist, you probably want to pick like a human anatomy book.
And I have this book. I think every artist and their mother has this book. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, none of this really matters. Because it's all based on your expectations. You set your goals based on what you're willing to do. If you don't really care about the end goal, if you don't really care about like improvement per se, or if you don't really mind, or you're happy just doing what you're doing, awesome. But as I said, you set your goals based on what you're willing to do. And if your goal is to get better, then you must be willing to practice and adapt and do what is needed. Like it's that compromise. You got to do what you need to do what you want to do. And that's everything with artwork.
And really study it. But for me, it's just supposed to be fun. And I think if I'm having fun, I will
say that's a very valid point as well. There are some parts of learning art that are going to be dry, but making the learning process fun, especially for us neurodivergent people, is going to be immensely important. I cannot be the only autistically ADHD person out there that would always lose focus in school in the very dry lessons that were just nothing but theoretical, and then perk up immensely when I was in practical lessons. Make the learning process fun. Do something to incentivize it. Maybe it's like you need to do 15 minutes of reading and then have a round of Counter-Strike or something.
Remain consistent. So at least that's what I was trying to focus on. I picked up books about perspective because I want to learn and I want to understand this. And I think finally that clicked in me. It went from me just wanting to sketch whatever to, no, I actually want to understand these things so I can draw them better. And I wish
the Jujutsu Kaisen pose.
did that sooner. Again, this felt like taking so many steps back because I had no clue how to draw a body.
Zero. I wish I read Japanese
at all. I had sketched so much, and it feels embarrassing to admit this, but like everyone was so amazed by my 100.
We just appreciate this is like shot like a documentary as well. Dude's like PewDiePie is retired, and even his like retirement videos have better editing quality than 90% of fucking the slop you get on like my channel or whatever. So impressive.
That I felt like.
But that's what comes around money and an editor.
Has to be really good, right? Like, but progress isn't a straight line. Like,
yes,
I think I was being too hard on myself where I was getting close to a year and
like sometimes you take steps back to make a few steps forwards.
I drew a full body one.
Oh shit. Yo,
and
that's awesome.
Comparing it to my 80-day one, and I'm like,
oh shit, that's amazing. Yo, look at that. I mean, you can tell that this is his first because like that left leg is all over the bloody place, but like from the torso and like the pose, that is such a strong pose. That is a really strong pose. Like that's better posing than some of the stuff I draw now. Like that's so impressive. I guarantee you the next time he draws this, he's going to do it better.
And I'm like, the 80-1, it's still better. Even though it's just like full body, it's still better. So yeah, if you want to improve, you have to kind of go through the pain of sucking again, I guess.
So psychologically, the reason this is, humans are prone to positivity. Nobody likes negative stuff. And this is what causes art block. When you don't see progress, when you stagnate, when you do something and you feel like it's gotten worse, you protect yourself by saying, oh, I shouldn't do that again, because that was negative. And you internalize that as a rationalization as to why you don't want to do it again. And then you get this like association to drawing that's negative. So at that point, you need to try and make it fun. You need to do something that you would enjoy again. You need to make sure your mind is trained in a way that makes sure art is always seen as a positive thing rather than a negative thing. And with things like art block, with things like what he's talking about right now, it's the biggest pitfall that causes so many artists to give up before they get the chance. It's like, oh god, it's like all gamblers give up one spin before they strike it rich or whatever. But in some respects, it's kind of true with this, because you let your mind and your psyche is your worst enemy with this kind of stuff. And it really shows. I've had this happen to me a few times, but I've had 15 odd years to condition myself to know when I need to take a break from what it is I'm drawing and to make sure that the process is always fun.
I guess it really felt like, oh, cool. Like I drew for this much, and
I would laugh my ass off if he'd had one random page in here that was just porn.
And actually understand anatomy.
Do we think he's drawn some hentai? Like, we all know that PewDiePie's into hentai. We all know it.
Okay, but real talk again. Porn is a fantastic study.
Oh, absolutely. Like, drawing porn,
like, unironically,
works amazingly for reference.
Views aside, porn's fucking fantastic for art and for learning.
It didn't matter to me. It was just a hobby, but now I'm like, I want to actually know, like, how do you draw legs? How do you draw different expressions? How do you draw? What is this? You've all been waiting for the return of...
Sponsored moment. Okay, smart guy. Okay. You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. That was actually flawless. That was fucking flawless.
And I really wanted
I was waiting for the sponsorship, but it never came because it was part of the video.
Towards the end here. And that's when I bought an iPad. Coming in clutch last minute. Super satisfying to draw with a pen on an iPad, but obviously it's way different.
I bought an iPad for that exact reason.
A last-minute learning curve of me not understanding the program and yada yada yada.
Hi, Jade.
So let's go through the last thing I drew, which was on the iPad. So I started off just sketching, and I was still too scared to draw.
Remember how earlier I told you how the process transitions from traditional to digital? This is what I mean. Going digital to traditional is much harder than digital to traditional.
I drew this, which I thought was going to be amazing, and I ended up really hating it. I think the colors are fun, but I didn't know how to draw hair. I at least try to draw like a full body, but I was so scared of... I'm going to give PewDiePie credit here. He's doing something very, very healthy for artists, which is where you don't just draw a stagnant pose. Like, there's giving a pose a purpose. One big rule about artists is not just to draw like... Don't just draw like straight ahead pose, because it's just the same thing every time. You know, you just have the same pose straight ahead. There's nothing unique or dynamic about it. It looks stagnant, it looks stale. And everything that I'm seeing from PewDiePie tells me that he's known this from the word go, is that the two things are your pose. Like, no one just stands there doing nothing in a pose. Like, so what is your character doing? And what is the purpose of this picture? What are you trying to make? What is this picture trying to make people feel? So trying to make a picture dynamic and have a purpose, like maybe if the guy's just stood there, maybe he's reading a book. Why is he stood there? What book is he reading? Is he waiting? Is it cold? Like, giving the picture a purpose helps a lot. And it makes something way more appealing to look at when it's not just straight ahead, dude stood there looking blankly at the camera kind of thing. of getting it wrong that I think I just made it look weird. So I practiced drawing hair, but it's just like nothing interesting about it.
That's a really good expression.
Try it out. And then I thought,
Hands a bit goofy, but hey.
I'm gonna really wow you guys. I started the line work.
Yo, sweetly dark art, like Prime. You could have used that on anyone.
So good.
That's a very good.
And,
Wow.
This is the end result.
Okay. Okay, PewDiePie, calm down. Fucking making some manga Persona game illustration front cover. Damn.
And I genuinely hate looking at it. I've looked at it so much, it just pisses me off. Even now, I don't want to. In my head, it was gonna be so much more, you know. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, cool, that was it, huh?
But then, okay, one of the best practices I can recommend: if you ever draw something you hate, leave it alone for a month, go draw some other stuff, come back and draw it again, and see how much better it looks next time.
I desperately try to draw something else because I don't know, like I felt like I could do more.
Also, I'm gonna expose myself a little bit here. So I went to university for animation, and there is a thing that stuck out in my mind that will not leave my brain. It was in my first year of university, and they were trying to get us to use different mediums for animation. So I had a light box, and this is that thing where you have like a big box in front of you, it's got a light underneath it, and you put a bit of paper on top of it, and you kind of flick through the paper. So up until that point, I'd been purely digital as an artist, as an animator, sorry. And I remember drawing on this paper, and I made a mistake. And instinctively, my hand reached up to the keyboard to press Control-Z. And I sat there for 15 seconds, looking up at my hand, looking down at the paper that was in front of me, and then back up to the keyboard, back down to my hand, and I said under my breath, motherfucker, I'm stupid.
I've done that.
I couldn't.
I've
it
done
just
that.
came out looking weird and
Amelia, thank you for
unsatisfying.
following.
This was supposed to be like the most simplest thing ever. Like
That's really
black,
cool.
high contrast.
Like, PewDiePie is very good at faces. I understand his struggle because his problem is he has a disconnect between faces and then the rest of the body. And that's just something. Like, it took me years to be good at hands. In fact, he's going through the same difficulty I did. I got really good at drawing faces because that's all I drew for years. And then when I did start drawing bodies and hands, you know, I draw a Picasso level face pick, but then the hands of the character looks like a toddler decided to jab a fucking crowbar into them. It's just, you know, it takes a while for the other skills you develop to catch up with the main skill you start with.
With some color, still I didn't like it.
He's got a good concept of color too.
To the deadline, I think I have like 20 days left until this video. I drew a full body with perspective, and
that's really
I thought
good.
It came out pretty good. I was okay with this one. But
yeah,
I still
that's
felt
good.
Like
That's
could do
really
more.
good.
So I sketched for a couple days, and I told myself I'm gonna give one last effort. I have to really like it.
The true thing that we're finding here is that you are your own worst enemy.
I finished it yesterday, and I think I'm finally happy with it.
He literally drew Matsuya.
I
He drew Matsuya.
That isn't just black.
I love it. God, PewDiePie is so gay for Matsuya.
And I actually put some more time
good
into
color
the
work,
hair
good
and,
shadow.
like, making the lines look nice and small little details and having the high contrast light. Maybe it's wrong, but it's there at least, and I think it makes it more interesting, you know, with some shadows and different pose, you know, all of it. I think I'm finally happy with it. I think for a year progress, yeah.
That's very good.
To be happy?
That's very good. You should be happy. Dude, some people don't make that progress in 10 years. In fact, the progress that you made between here and here is the same progress that some people take 5 years to make. Even more sometimes. Like, some people never get past this building block. So that getting to that progress after a year is crazy.
Really believe that. And it goes, I'm the kind of person that love to try different things. I try new things all the time, and I really enjoy doing that. But every once in a while, I find something that I really, really, really love, and I will continue doing it.
Does anyone remember seeing that picture of PewDiePie
just
looking ripped?
I used to love
God, that
drawing
was
as
a weird
kid.
day for my heterosexuality.
But I'm so happy to be back.
What
there.
heterosexual?
It feels like I
Exactly.
never stopped. I wanted this whole thing also to be inspiring. I want
God, his
other
son
people
is gonna have such an
this
upbringing.
experience
Imagine
as
being the
well.
kid
People say
of
that
one of the
anyone
biggest
can draw, and I
YouTubers
truly
ever.
believe that, and it goes for anything really. Like
That kid
it's
is gonna be
about
brought up with
practice,
everything it ever
constant
wants.
Practice, no matter what. It's not rocket science. You put in the work and you get a result for it, hopefully. Like I said,
God, he's so
I'd love to do so many
level-headed.
different
This
things.
is not
Usually
the
if I try something,
angry,
people are like,
scared
"Oh, yeah, that's
Swede I
cool.
remember
Well,
playing
watching you do
Amnesia
it
back in the day.
100 times better." And it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm just.
God, I have
a
so much
beginner.
respect for him now.
But with me drawing, it was genuinely just everyone being encouraging, and I think that was just amazing, and I really appreciate that. So yes, thank you everyone. I'll see you guys in the
Damn,
next one.
that's
Whenever
crazy.
that will be, I don't know, but it will be.
And that's the end of the video because the next part is the most bit. Well, guys, the PewDiePie art situation is crazy. Isn't that crazy? I gotta pee. But thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Tia, do you have any final words about artwork? Do you want to show the class what you were drawing?
Yeah. I could if you want. I've just been doodling faces for a little bit.
I mean, you can show them if you want.
Yeah, I'll hold on to these for me.
Okay. Well, in any case, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please drop by the Patreon. Join us on Twitch and all. Yes?
There's my last word. There's my last word on all this. Remember, at the end of the day, art's for you. It's not for anybody else. It's
Absolutely.
for you. Enjoy doing it for you. Because if you don't enjoy doing it for you, you shouldn't be doing it.
100%. In any case, thank you very much for watching. Tia, I love you. Thank you for joining us. And I'll see you guys next time. Join us on Twitch, join us on Discord and Patreon. And I'll see you next time. Bye.